The Rock Health Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. Today is Tuesday, April 2nd. So we got all that fooling out of the way. Now we get back to business. We are live with Life right here at the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. And all you guys that are a little bit further out of town, 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. So I hope you guys are doing great. Hope you had a great day. It's just starting to get pretty around here. It was a little cool, but is and a slight windy in West Texas today. But I don't know what one of my ladies said. Man, I wish this wind would quit blowing. And I said, well, what would we do? Like, what would we do if the wind quit blowing? And all those people from outside would start moving into Lubbock, and then it would be crazy, right? So we like to have that wind around here. It's all you guys that don't understand that. You people with hills and trees and grass and all that stuff. You're missing out on a hardy life. You could be living. You could be living out here in West Texas where the wind blows and the skies turn brown. And it didn't really turn brown today, but the wind was kind of blowing out there. But anyway, hey, we got some cool stuff tonight. We're going to talk about our supplement. We're going to talk about the immune system mostly, and kind of how the whole thing fits in. We got an article I want to go over with you tonight. Just something I saw this morning just kind of popped out at me, and I was looking at it and I thought that's interesting because it's a researcher. I believe it's a Stanford researcher, Robert Sapolsky, I have studied him for quite some time, listening to a lot of his stuff. He's an interesting fella, and so he's got some statements. But the statements in the article just kind of go along with what we're going to talk about with the immune system, because it's. I'll get into it. I'll get into it in a minute. First, let's get to our supplement of the day. I'm a huge fan of fish oil. Everybody knows that. Everybody that watches this show knows that. I think I claim to be, my personal self, probably the number one fan of fish oil on the planet. At least I'm tied for it, right? There may be some other people out there that are at least equal to me, but I'm just going to be bold and say of the 8 billion people or however many we got now on the planet, however many are out there, no one is a bigger fan of fish oil than I am. So, but one of the things that I love about fish oil, just one of them, not all of them, but just one of them, is its anti-inflammatory effects. And what I've found over the last few years, it's something that really works well with the fish oil, is turmeric. And this supplement that we have is called Turmeric Forte. It's from MediHerb, which is like the sister company of Standard Process. MediHerb's out of Australia, and one of the things that I really like about MediHerb in Australia is that their Food and Drug Administration, or whatever they call it in Australia, that they actually they oversee the supplement industry. And so what is in this bottle, what says is in this bottle, is exactly what's in this bottle. So you can count on that. MediHerb is a fantastic company. They've got lots of great herbs that they use, and I don't, people call it different things. It's spelled Turmeric, and some people say turmeric, and I usually say turmeric, and I don't really know how it's pronounced. If you guys know it, you can send it to me. You can send me a message. You can text me at 806-794-0400. Hey, where have I been? You guys out there on the radio. Sorry, everybody on social media got me, but you guys on the radio, you missed that whole introduction right there. I'm sorry about that. We didn't get our microphone turned on tonight, so apologize for the moment of silence. Just consider it a minute of nice, calm meditation that you got to participate with right there. I apologize for that. And we are live with you. We're talking about our supplement tonight, and our supplement that we're coming from is Turmeric Forte. Turmeric is what we add as an anti-inflammatory that helps us get rid of our inflammation, and I'll read what it says right here. Turmeric contains a bioavailable form of turmeric rhizome and fenugreek seed to support a healthy inflammatory response. These herbs and their constituents support a healthy inflammatory response, maintain and support healthy joints, support healthy liver function and healthy digestion, provide antioxidant activity. So we've used it. What I've discovered with the turmeric forte is I've discovered that it works really well with the fish oil. So if fish oil being anti-inflammatory, turmeric combined with it is anti-inflammatory. So I just wanted to show you. There's I just kind of looked it up tonight on Harvard Health Publishing. This is from their medical school, and then looks at the benefits. And they're usually pretty good because they don't mind talking trash about things when they don't think that it matters. So it's kind of good for them to you kind of get a balance, or you get a little bit of a skewed kind of on the Harvard Health stuff. And so if they say something nice about something, then it usually is really legitimate. But turmeric is a bright yellow spice that is derived from the underground stems or rhizomes of the Curcuma longa plant. The plant is part of the ginger family and is grown in warm climates around the world. Turmeric has been studied over the past few decades to understand its potential health benefits. One 2020 study found that the curcuma to be associated with anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, anti-diarrheal, antimicrobial, antiviral, and antioxidant properties. So research has started to show connections between some of these properties and actual health benefits in people. For example, human studies have shown potential for curcumin in managing osteoarthritis pain. More research is needed to understand the other potential benefits of turmeric, as well as the dosage needed. You can also add curcumin as a flavoring to a variety of foods such as coffee, tea, soups or broth, roasted vegetables, rice dishes, or lentils. Turmeric supplements. Arthritis Foundation recommends one 500 milligram capsule of curcumin extract taken twice daily to help control symptoms of osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. And that's kind of what I found is some of my arthritis patients, if they will combine their fish oil with their turmeric together, and we get some extra strength. I don't think I have the back of it. Let me see if I can find it right here. But we use some extra strength turmeric, and let me see if I can see. No, I can't see it. I've used that in the past, and then I finally found this turmeric forte that we have at MediHerb. So if you're dealing with inflammation and you want to help your body be healthier, and you want to add something to your diet that kind of knocks down some of your inflammation, obviously your fish oil will be first, but turmeric would be another one. And if you're interested and you want to get some of it, you can go to our website, therock.standardprocess.com, therock.standardprocess.com, and you can pick up some turmeric and right there on the website. So I think it's very beneficial. All indications. Here's a safety of turmeric and curcumin supplements. Turmeric and curcumin supplements are classified as generally recognized as safe by the FDA, and both turmeric and curcumin appear to be safe and well tolerated, even when consumed in amounts up to 8 grams a day. However, turmeric is likely to cause abdominal pain, nausea, and diarrhea when taken in high doses. So I would push it. I don't think there's any reason to be worried about that. If you're dealing with inflammation in your joints and you want to have a better joint health, I think that's good to go with. It says right here, just if you're taking blood thinners, about to have surgery, pregnant or lactating, have gallbladder disease, or undergoing chemotherapy, might want to talk to your doctor before taking those. So, and your doctor may or may not know anything about supplements, so you may have to talk to a different doctor. If you've got diabetes, just be aware that turmeric can lower your blood sugar, which kind of goes along with the one of the other things I wanted to share with you tonight, and that was from Dr. Mark Hyman. And you can go to his Instagram if you're an Instagram person, and it's Dr. Mark Hyman, Hyman. And there was one of the things I saw was anxiety and depression are intertwined with the core mechanisms behind heart disease, obesity, and cancer. And this is observational study looked at the diet of 6,000 adults in India and assessed total dietary inflammation based on the presence of certain micro and macronutrients. Findings revealed that 75% of participants consumed a pro-inflammatory diet. After adjusting for potential cofactors, those who consumed a slightly inflammatory diet were 46% higher risk of more than one chronic disease. Those who consumed an even more inflammatory diet are at 75% risk for more than one chronic disease. Those who consumed the most inflammatory diet had a 77% higher risk of more than one chronic disease. A higher inflammatory diet score was associated with higher rates of depression and anxiety, as well as great risk of stroke, coronary heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure. So that goes right along with the turmeric and the fish oil and the things that we talk about on a daily basis when we talk about trying to get ourselves functioning properly and making sure that we can get our immune system down and get that flame down. We don't want that thing raging. We don't want it always on. We don't want the immune system always on the hunt. We want it to be calm, and we want to get those anti-inflammatory things to get it calm. And what are anti-inflammatory diets? High omega-3 diets. Go back and watch that show we were talking about last week, Living to 100 on Netflix. Living to 100, the study of blue zones, right? Go look what the people in Okinawa eat. Go look and see what the people in southern Italy eat. Even southern Italy, of all places, where you think, well, Italian food, right? But these people they're able to withstand. They're able to live for long periods of time because one of the things they're doing is keeping it down, keeping their inflammation down. And seaweed is a big deal in Okinawa, and fish. It's a big deal in Okinawa. And so I think that's, if you guys are into that sort of thing, like living well, like why would you watch this show if you weren't, right? But if you're interested in that, then Dr. Hyman's trying to support that idea that says, hey, if you can keep your inflammation down, not only will you decrease your depression and anxiety, but you can also decrease your risk of stroke, coronary heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure by keeping that inflammation down. And so it goes together. The whole thing goes together. Now, let's take a slight little segue into that article that I was wanting to talk about tonight with Robert Sapolsky. And it says he may be one of the greatest behavioral scientists, but Robert Sapolsky, 66, does not believe there's any merit to that. He doesn't say it out of modesty, but out of conviction. This prolific author believes that free will is an illusion, that our conscious decisions are really the consequence of unconscious processes in the brain. Sapolsky spent 3 decades studying baboons in the wild in Kenya, but has since gone on to write world-renowned books on his deterministic theory of human behavior. In his new book, Determined, he develops the idea further by drawing on neurology, philosophy, and sociology. It's not you, it's not me, it's determinism. The phrase, in addition to being the best of excuses, raises the moral doubts about whether concept of guilt, punishment, merit, or effort. And we ask him about it. And this is a journal in El País. El País is the place, the journal that I'm getting this from. But the question: you maintain that free will does not exist. How then is a concrete action formed, a decision over which we believe we have control? And this was his answer. So he's a Stanford behavioral scientist, been studying these baboons, and here's his answer. A behavior is the end product of what happened in your brain a second ago, of environmental stimuli, which conditioned those neurons in your brain to do what they did a second ago, and the hormones you had in your bloodstream this morning, and what happened to you in the last few months. Your brain may have changed its structure during your adolescence, childhood, or fetal life, either because of your genes or because of the culture in which you have grown up. It is biology over which we have no control, interacting with the environment over which we have no control. And when you look at all of these influences, you realize that neurobiology influences your decisions, as does genetics, geochronology, and social psychology. It is not that all of these disciplines are different, but that they become one discipline. So, look, I know that we have differences of opinion in certain things, um, and I know that a lot of you that listen to the show, a lot of us are Christian people, and we're very biblical, and so, but what I have learned over my lifetime is that I'm okay with listening to the ideas of someone else to kind of get an idea if it can give me some picture of what's happening. I'm not challenged by my faith or scared of my faith. Now I also understand if you stick your hand on a pot of glue, you're going to get glue on your hand. And so you got to be careful how you hang out. But that's exactly what he's saying right here but I just want to take this little piece of knowledge from this guy who's been studying behavior for a long time. He's 66 years old and he's a super smart dude. And I want to just kind of see if I can pull this out just a little bit and then pull it into the immune system and kind of see if I'm able to get all those things to kind of glue together tonight. So that's what I'm trying to do by this answer. And he says, so the question that was asked him, you maintain that free will does not exist. He's saying that free will doesn't exist. He's saying it's just a process that's going on that makes you do what you do. Okay? All right. Agree or disagree, it's not the point. That's not what I'm talking about. How then is a concrete action formed, a decision over which we would believe we have control? And his answer is this: a behavior is the end product of what happened in your brain a second ago. So if you think about that, what you're doing right now is what happened in your brain a second ago to tell you the next thing that you're going to do, right? It happens a lot. If you guys ever want to try it, you should try to do a radio show and a live social media show for 7 months. You should try that because there's a lot of things there's a lot of things going on right now, right? I got a computer screen over here, and this computer screen is that I'm reading. I've also got my Restream Studio that I check and see and make sure that everything's still on. That's why I missed the dadgum microphone on the radio, and because I hit the wrong, I hit it, but it didn't come on, and then I should have known it, but I didn't. And then I've got 2 different cell phones right here. I got my books, I got my supplements, I got my water over here, and I'm sitting here and I'm mapping all this stuff out, right? And I will have something flash on the screen, or I'll see something over here on the screen, and I'll see a tab that's open, and I'll like, man, and I will process that, and it will come through on the next moment. The next moment is, hey, I need to remember I'm supposed to say this, and then I got to remember I'm supposed to say this, and we just start talking about all these separate things, and I can totally understand what he's trying to say. A behavior is the end product of what happened in your brain a second ago. You thought about doing something, then you did it, right? Of environmental stimuli, the whole thing is a sentence. A behavior is the end product of what happened in your brain a second ago of environmental stimuli which conditioned those neurons in your brain to do what they did a second ago. So the environmental stimuli. How is this chair? Is this chair squeaking? Am I sitting up straight? What am I doing? Is it cold in here? What's happening? There's a sound that's going down the street. All those stimuli are being absorbed into my nervous system. And my nervous system is taking all of that, and it's moving me forward into doing the next thing that I'm doing. Stick with me because I'm going to pull this together in just a second. And the hormones you had in your bloodstream this morning. So your hormones matter. Your insulin level is a hormone, right? Your insulin's a hormone. That matters. Your steroids are in your glucocorticoids and all the things that you have inside your body. Your vitamin D levels matter, right? And what happened to you in the last few months? How has your life been in the last week? How has your life been in the last 2 weeks? How has your life been in the last month? right? It's shaping us constantly. It's constantly shaping what we're doing. Your brain may have changed its structure during adolescence, childhood, or fetal life, either because of your genes or because of the culture in which you have grown up. It is biology over which we have no control, interacting with the environment over which we have no control. I'm not sure. I'd really have to have a conversation with Dr. Spolsky about that. Whether that's why he's saying there's no free will, because we're just basically getting pushed like a river just pushing us down the road, right? Well, we don't necessarily buy that, but the what I wanted to share with you about this particular article that I saw today was I wanted to share with you the behavior that we have. It has a lot to do with the internal and external environment that we're in. And if we desire a behavior that moves us in a better direction, if we desire to have a better life, then we can manipulate some of these behaviors to push us in a direction that we want to go. So we can stop for a second and say, I want to have a better immune system. That's one of the things, right? I want to have a better immune system. I want to be able to reach down and touch my toes. I want to have less joint pain. I want to be able to have clearer thought processes. I think all of these things are things that if we would stop for a second and really think about what we wanted out of life, and we really wanted to be able to just enjoy life better. And enjoy life better really means, it doesn't necessarily mean everything is positive. What it means is that we have less negative things when we enjoy life. Dr. Peterson did a good job of breaking that down for me. So we don't want to suffer, right? So what can we do not to suffer? Well, we could create an environment inside ourselves, and we could create that environment in a way that's going to move us forward into to the direction that we want to go. And if we understand it a little bit, what I was talking about last night of setting our why, right? If we understand it better, then, and we understand that, let's go back to the beginning and kind of break this down again. A behavior is the end product of what happened in your brain a second ago. Well, what happened in my brain a second ago? What would my sugar level matter in that environment, right? Is my blood sugar proper? Is my blood sugar too high and with glucose, right? Would I have too much glucose in my brain? Do I have not enough glucose in my brain? That could be a problem too, right? How about blood pressure? How about is my blood pressure going up, right? Well, maybe I'm not getting enough oxygen or nutrients to my brain, and it's pushing my blood pressure up. So I go to my doctor. We've had this conversation, right? I go to my doctor. He takes my blood pressure. Says your blood pressure's high. Take an average over the next few days. Your blood pressure stays high. We better put you on a blood pressure medication and decrease your blood pressure. So what does that do to your brain? It decreases your nutrients and your fuel and activation, right? So we don't get as much oxygen, we don't get as much nutrients to the brain, and my behavior is a product of what happened in my brain a second ago. So the nutrients that I have, the exercise in our Spark book, right? The way that movement fires our brain. What do we talk about all the time? What's the best thing you can do is be social for your brain, right? What's the second best thing you can do is go for a walk. Why is going for a walk so good for you? Because it's good for your brain, right? It gives your brain a little bit more activity. It gives your brain that activation part of fuel and activation, right? Keeping your eyes up above the horizon, looking up and moving your eyes back and forth. So if there are things I can do to help set the environment inside my brain, if I understand those things, and it's like it comes down here. Your brain may have changed its structure during adolescence, childhood, or fetal life, either because of your genes or because of the culture in which you have grown up. Okay, well, find yourself watching a health show multiple nights a week, and find yourself and see if the culture of being in a healthy culture changes the way that your brain functions, right? Because we know that we've been in a culture, a lot of us have been raised up in a culture that didn't focus on health. We will come in on Monday morning after Easter weekend and talk about how inflamed we are because we ate so much Easter candy yesterday. That's our culture that we live in, right? With the whole Easter egg thing, right? Don't get mad at me about the Jesus and the resurrection. You guys know where I stand with that. But I'm saying that that's the culture we live in, and the culture provides us with a bunch of highly processed foods, and it inflames us and leads us back to depression and anxiety and a risk of stroke, coronary heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure. Right? Like all those things, they map together, and they're setting the environment inside our brain. They're setting the environment inside our brain that is driving our behavior in the next second, right? So we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna pull this into the immune system on the other side of the break. I apologize for not getting the mic on for you guys on the radio. You'll have to forgive me on that one. And so we'll be back right after these messages with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, right here on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio. Yeah, sorry about that. I messed up. You guys, I didn't mess it up for y'all. I just messed it up for them. So a behavior is an end product of what happened in your brain a second ago, of environmental stimuli, which condition those neurons in your brain to do what they did a second ago, and the hormone you had in your bloodstream this morning, and what happened to you a few months ago. So what I'm saying is, what happened to me a few months ago? Well, I quit drinking my coffee, right? What happened to me a couple years ago? I quit drinking my sugar. What happened to me 4 years ago? I started working out on a regular basis. Those things started adding up. They have changed the way that my behavior is today. They've changed the way that I'm able to go throughout a day. We're on our cleanse, like I've been telling you guys about. I think today is day 9 of our 21-day detox with standard process that we're doing right now. And I'm telling you, it amazes me every single time that I do this detox, because it amazes me how little food a person actually needs to function on. And that's one of the things that I've known forever, is that one of the only things that I've ever read or studied that says anything about increasing longevity is decreasing caloric intake. And I'm more about living the day that we're living in today, than instead of just trying to get to some longevity goal. I don't want to necessarily just get to some longevity goal, but I would be willing to bet that the days that we have today will be better if we're more congruent with that. If we're trying to get ourselves to that level, to where we can make ourselves as healthy as possible today, to live the best day that we can live today. And what we might consider, based on this whole argument or this article that we're reading, is what we might consider is that our behavior is being driven constantly by the choices that we're making. Let me get us back on here. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we're talking about behavior, and we're talking about the diet, and we're talking about the immune system and the anti-inflammatory properties of a diet. So we're trying to pull all this in. And so in the bottom of the answer, he says, and when you look at these influences, you realize that neurobiology influences your decisions, as does genetics and social psychology and other things. It's not that all these disciplines are different. Never mind. Neurobiology influences your decisions. Yes. I don't want to take us off the hook that easy and just say, hey, you're not responsible for anything that you do. But I think you can start by understanding that your brain, it's basically what he is saying. Neurobiology influences your decisions. It also influences how your body functions. It also influences whether or not your legs work right. It also influences whether or not your knee joints stay healthy. It also influences whether or not your back stays solid. If you have some sort of all those orthopedic tests. My shoulder started being bad unless I had an event. My shoulders started being bad after my brain started being bad. So let's just talk about how now, if we talked about the immune system, because I went to Littlefield today, I adjusted my 84-year-old patient that I take care of over there in Littlefield. She wasn't the only one, but she was one of them. And I said, "So, what have you been doing today?" And she's like, I had to run to Levelland, and that's a little town. Littlefield's about 40 miles from here, and Levelland's another town where they have the pharmacy that she gets her drugs for her son that lives with her. And so I knew when she said it that she had to run to Levelland today. I knew exactly because I've been taking care of her for since 2008, and so we're coming up on 14 years. 16 years, whatever that is. 18 and another 16 years now that I've been taking care of her. And so she said I had to run to Levelland to get some medication. And I said, "Now those are for your son, right? They're not for you." And she said, "Oh no, I don't take anything unless you consider supplements. Unless you consider supplements medication, I don't take any medication." And she said, I take vitamin D, fish oil, and one other thing for the pressure in her eyes from a supplement standpoint. And I was like, that's kind of unheard of. I don't even know how you're still alive. She'll be 85 in June. She's 84. She'll be 85 in June. I said, "I don't even know how you're still alive at 84 years old and you're not on any pharmaceuticals at all." She's like, "Yeah." She knew the sarcasm that I was sharing right there. And so what was also funny is that she had been paying on this life insurance policy, and she realized how dumb that was, that she didn't need a life insurance policy. It was a different one, and she's like, "I'll just cash that dude in." And she cashed it in and sent this guy that kind of helps her do stuff. He sent her to town to get to Lubbock to get a tiller so that she could make a garden. And she's 84 years old, and she's like, "Hey, he's going to do the tilling for her, but she could get out there and handle the garden and start to have a garden." I mean, she's always had a garden, but her husband died during COVID. Her daughter died during COVID. She's kind of had a rough few years. She's taking care of her son, and he's got some problems. But how does a person live to be 84 years old, and what's going on with her? How come she's able to function without needing pharmaceuticals? What is it? And then I started thinking about that, and I was thinking about that article that I had seen this morning, and I just thought, what about the immune system? Like, if we were going to talk about the immune system a little bit, what would we talk about? And how does a person stay healthy for a long period of time? Do they keep themselves in a low inflammatory diet? They don't eat a lot of food. That's one of the things. She's a little bitty lady. She's, I don't know, I think she weighs 114 pounds or something like that. She's a little bitty lady. And so I thought I'd pull out a couple of these books. I don't remember if we've done a book review on An Elegant Defense, The Extraordinary New Science of the Immune System, A Tale in Four Lives. And this is a Pulitzer Prize winner, Matt Richtel, I believe is how you would say that. But I don't know if we've done a book review on this one, but you can go back and look. I know we've done multiple times on The Body by Bill Bryson, and so these are really good books. And I just wanted to read a few pages and just discuss a few pages from the book that talked about the immune system, and so there were just some studies that were done and some things that go along with what that Sapolsky article was saying and what Dr. Hyman's saying to kind of pull all this stuff together. And so it's talking about these two people that got married, Ronald Glasser and Janice Keikolt Glasser. And there was an odd study. Keikolt Glasser recalled performed at West Point. It had taken place in the mid-1970s and involved looking at which cadets were more likely to contract infectious mono, one of the 8 types of human herpes virus. They can be relatively harmless and are among the most common viruses in the world, but this class of virus obviously has a more troublesome side too. The research took place over 40 years and involved a class of roughly 1,400 cadets. No, 4 years, not 4. They were not in there that long. The research took place over 4 years and involved a class of roughly 1,400 cadets. When the cadets entered West Point, he was tested to see whether he produced antibodies to fight Epstein-Barr virus, the pathogen that caused infectious mono. In other words, the researchers were testing whether the cadets' bodies had been exposed to Epstein-Barr virus and had developed defenses that recognized it. When the cadets entered, roughly 30% lacked antibody of Epstein-Barr. They had essentially not encountered it in any meaningful way. Of that group, they had the antibody. Of the group that had the antibody, 20% eventually became infected. According to the research paper written by Yale scholar and published in 1979, among those cadets who became infected, 25% not only had antibodies, but showed clinical signs of being sick. What was surprising was one common thread among cadets likely to develop infectious mono. They were doing poorly in school and had highly accomplished fathers and were themselves particularly motivated to succeed. Now, think about that. What was surprising was amongst these cadets likely to develop the infection, they were doing poorly in school, had a highly accomplished fathers, and were themselves particularly motivated to succeed. Their environment was affecting their immune system. They were guys who were not doing well and really wanted to. Ambitious guys, struggling in school, with successful dads. Stress seemed to be playing a key role in the immune system's response. Ron said, "Let's try a study with medical students." Herpes was the perfect test. Not only is herpes among the world's most common virus family, because one of my girls this morning told me she gets cold sores, and she's been super surprised. She's been waiting on her cold sore to get here, but she's been super surprised that she hasn't had any cold sores. And one of the things that we did for her, we're working on her a lot because of some of the issues that she's got. But one of the things we did for her is we got her on vitamin C and vitamin D right off the bat. So she's been taking her vitamin D, and she said to me this morning, "I'm really surprised that I haven't had a cold sore," right? So I'll get back to it here. Nearly all adult Americans have been infected with several of the 8 by age 40. Also, it is also a very delicate, even profound relationship with the immune system. It's a relationship that tells us something about how our defenses have evolved to take a calculation about when to attack and when to stand back. Sometimes when a pathogen is detected, but the pathogen appears not to be spreading and not to be too dangerous, our elegant defenses watch and observe, acting more like peacekeepers than assassins. Herpes is a wonderful example. It's worth noting of herpes that the genetics of the virus share key characteristics with human DNA. Notably, both have double-stranded DNA, the famous double helix. That's one way that herpes can be a bit flummoxing to the immune system, which is always scanning for self and alien. In this case, it can be hard for the immune system to identify the non-self. Also, once a person is infected, the virus does something else that it makes it challenging for the immune system. Herpes essentially lies dormant. For instance, the oral versions tend to hang out in cells inside the roots of nerves at the base of the skull, or in other nerve roots near and around the spine. That's the same thing that happens with our chickenpox, right? Those nerves, they lie dormant inside the viruses lie dormant inside our nerves. Frankly, I find this to be terrifying, a virus hanging dormant like a pod in the movie Alien. Meanwhile, the immune system, sensing that something is afoot, but not active or not so clearly different from us, shows up and hangs out itself, keeping watch. The presence of the immune cells essentially keeps the herpes in check. The cops show up and keep the party down, um, said William something, a Yale immunologist. The herpes is effectively held in check. Sometimes, though, when the immune system gets preoccupied, stressed, or tamped down, it provides an opening for the virus to emerge. Herpes, sensing the temporary weakness, travels down the nerve root into the mouth and attacks. Now the festival of life is under attack, and the immune system must respond in force. The scenario makes it terrific test case for stress and the immune system because it allows researchers to see what happens when a person experiences stress. Do our defenses get distracted such that the herpes virus can emerge from its ganglion hideout? The seminal 1982 study done by the Glazers involved 75 medical students. The study measures the level of subjects' natural killer cells and their antibodies. The students were tested prior to exam. Then on the final exam days, let me go back. The study measured the level of the subject's natural killer cells and their antibodies. The students were tested prior to exams. So what they were doing is seeing if the exams of medical students were causing their immune systems to decrease in function. So a lot of times in medical school, you have like a midterm and a final. And that's your whole grade is determined on whether or not you pass the midterm or the final. And so when you take that midterm test, it's hard. Like it's stressful. In chiropractic school, sometimes we had 5-6 tests in a week. That's how many classes we'd take a trimester, and all of a sudden we were just taking all those tests, and there was a lot of stress, right? So the students were tested prior to exams, then on final exam days, and then sometime later when they returned from vacation. When Ron saw the results, he didn't believe it. After the exam, the antibody levels were so high, he didn't trust the data. The numbers were even higher for the lonelier students. The stress of exams was bad for everybody, but worse for the lonelier students. You know, I don't make this stuff up. I'm not that smart. I'm really not that smart. I just am somewhat educated about some things, right? What is the number one thing you can do for your brain? I know. What you all said right now was be social, right? So what's saying right here, the stress of the exam was bad for everybody, but worse for the lonelier students. Yes, because their brains weren't working as well. And your brain is in charge of your immune system. And if you don't believe that, cut your brain off from your body and then watch your immune system not function properly. Go back and look at Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve died from an infection of a bed sore. Why did he get an infection of a bed sore? That's a big question. Why did he get if you got a blister on your foot and it got infected, why would it get infected? Because your brain didn't know you had a blister, right? Your brain didn't know you had a blister, so the party was going on down there without your brain knowing about it, and then your brain didn't set your immune system into action. There also was a severe reaction involving the natural killer cells too. Remember that these are among the first line defenders in the immune system, the heavy artillery. During exams, there was a sharp fall in the number of natural killer cells that circulated outside the bone marrow. The stress of the exams was suppressing a key part of the immune system. Why might this be? During exams, there's a surge of adrenaline. This precedes the release of steroids. You already know that a steroid dampens the immune system and are used to fight autoimmunity. Let me say that again. You already know that steroids dampen the immune system and are used to fight autoimmunity. How many of you just go get a steroid shot in your knee like it's no big deal? I'll just get another steroid shot in my neck. I think I'll just go get a steroid shot in my shoulder because I got a lot of inflammation in my shoulder. What's the steroid going to do? Steroid's going to dampen your immunity, right? There is profound logic behind this relationship between adrenaline and steroids and the immune system. It is crucial to our survival. Steroids play a number of pivotal roles in allowing us to survive moments of acute stress. Crucially, for instance, steroids help to maintain the integrity of the blood vessels in times of stress when the blood vessels might constrict. These steroids keep them intact and, without putting too fine a point on it, maintain your blood circulation and pressure so you don't faint and die. That's what is going on with your adrenal glands when it releases cortisol in the middle of the night to keep your blood pressure under control and control your blood sugar. That you're controlling your blood sugar, and it also releases aldosterone to help you control your blood pressure, right? These kinds of steroids also has a wave-like impact across our immune system as they circulate through the body. Virtually every cell has a receptor for these types of steroids, and that receptor is called a glucocorticoid receptor. When the steroid becomes active or elevated, they can reach many, many cells. Every cell in the body, according to Jonathan Ashwell, an expert in cell biology at the NIH. It's a remarkable idea in and of itself. In these giant festival, this hormone courses through the entire confines of the party and has an impact on the behavior of many, many partygoers, at least the ones that are self. Cell receptors for steroids are outside the nucleus, but when the steroids reach them, a reaction begins that moves the steroid into the nucleus. There, it begins a process by which it interacts with the cell's DNA to change the proteins made by the cell. Chief among these influences made by the steroids is that you repress expression of a lot of genes important for an immune response to occur, Dr. Ashwell explained. So what are they saying? What is he saying right here? That when you get stressed and you release adrenaline and you release these corticoids, right? The glucocorticoids, you release those. This adrenaline is going to dock with the receptor. It's going to come into the nucleus, and it's going to suppress, let me read it right here, repress expression of a lot of genes important for an immune response to occur. The main reason for that is that your body is going to use the resources that it has in the moment that it needs. Because remember what Dr. Sapolsky just said, your behavior is a result of what happened 1 second ago, right? So 1 second ago, you detected a threat. And a second before that, you detected a threat. And the second before that, you detected a threat. And when you detect a threat, your body's going to kick in your stress response. And your stress response is going to fire down to your adrenal glands and release cortisol. And you're going to increase your steroid in your body because your body is understanding that it has to fight the threat. The threat is imminent right now. And when we're in that right hemisphere sympathetic response that we get with our immune system, when we get that sympathetic response to happen in that right hemisphere, we don't care about the future. That's why digestion, immune system, reproduction, and posture all go out the window when we're stressed out. See how that? I know you guys get tired of me saying this thing over and over again, but you see how it just maps. It overlaps on itself over and over and over again. It just all comes back to these same things, right? So when we get stressed out, what our brain is doing is our brain is saying, look, if I have to fight a tiger right now, what difference does it make if I have an immune system that's supposed to help me with cold sores? What difference does it make if I have an immune system that's going to give me mono, right? I don't care about, I'm trying not to die in the next 90 seconds. That's what my immune system, that's how my brain is seeing that threat, right? So that's what's going on, and it's decreasing, it's got a chemistry, it's got a mechanism by which it does all this stuff. It's not that we just say that your immune system decreases in function when we're stressed out, but it's actually true, and there's a mechanism inside the body that's happening with these different hormones that are taking place. Now, why would it benefit us to have our elegant defenses repressed? The logic comes again from evolution. If your ancestor was under sudden and profound stress, say fearing a bear or a lion attack, it would be problematic for inflammation to create fatigue or fever, right? We, yes, for most of us of human history, stress meant imminent threat. An imminent threat meant the body needed to be alert, fully functional, even a bit superpowered. This is where the hormone cortisol comes in. It is secreted by the adrenal gland. In times of stress, the release of cortisol comes slightly after the release of one or two other key hormones, norepinephrine and epinephrine, right? That's the firing part of the stress response. Steroids and these other two hormones are separated but highly related pathways in the stress experience. The first release of epinephrine or norepinephrine is known as the sympathetic response and is involved in the central nervous system. That's what we just said. The second release of cortisol takes a bit longer to cascade. It goes from the brain to the pituitary gland to the adrenal glands and releases glucocorticoid, a natural immune system dampener. In times of acute stress, there's a virus in your system. The virus fight can wait. The bigger threat has teeth and runs 3.5-second 40-yard dash. Yes, that's exactly what I just said. If you're in a tiger fight or a bear or a lion, what do you care about a virus, right? The immune system response has a substantial energetic cost and the potential for collateral damage, according to Michael Irwin, the Cousins Professor of Psychiatry and Biobehavioral Sciences at UCLA. Dr. Irwin is one of the foremost experts in the world in the connection between your immune system and your brain and behavior, including stress and sleep. The collateral damage is fever, fatigue, acute swelling, or inflammation, all things that might encourage someone to slow down and rest. Not good when you're up against the lion. So that's the relationship between adrenaline and the immune system has another key driver. It is highly regulated by how we sleep. Yeah. So then the next chapter is the sleep. So I'll just take this last few minutes to kind of pull all this together, right? We started by talking about decreasing inflammation in turmeric forte. Then we talked about, with Robert Sapolsky, saying, hey, look, behavior is what happened in your brain a second ago. If we want our immune system to work, we need to keep our stress levels down. If we want to keep our stress levels down, then we need to be careful because a high inflammatory diet score was associated with higher rates of depression and anxiety. If we have anxiety, that's a right hemisphere problem. The right hemisphere problem is going to kick off the immune response, which is going to dampen our immune response, which is going to leave us more susceptible to being sick. Because in the world that we live in today, the majority of the stressors, the majority of the lions that we fight on a daily basis aren't really lions. We get stressed out about someone in that parked in our parking spot, or we get stressed out about whether or not we won the baseball game today, or we get stressed out about what's happening at first grade, or whether or not we have the right colored shirt to go with the right colored shoes. Right? Those are all the lions that we have, which in reality aren't really lions. But as far as our immune system is concerned, as far as our nervous system is concerned, if we're stressed out about all those things, then we're just setting ourselves up to be sicker and sicker and sicker, right? So if we can learn to control that, eat well, move well, think well, as Dr. Chestnut says, get some sleep, get some vegetables, get some exercise. Hey, that's the end of the show tonight. Sorry about that on the radio. Sorry we didn't get that going. I thought that was pretty good. It's a good book, An Elegant Defense, Extraordinary New Science of the Immune System. It's not new. It's just new to us, right? Because we discovered it. Hope you guys have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock right here on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and all of our social media at the Rock Health and Wellness Center. Hope you guys have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.